Thank you again for being here. We are going to get started just about now, so I'm going to introduce our incredible Chief Climate Officer, Brian Swett.
Thank you, Stacia. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful but brisk January day. My name is Brian Swett. I'm the Chief Climate Officer for the City of Boston, and we're really excited here to be able to announce a number of grants that have been finalized to better protect the city from storm surge and sea level rise and natural hazards associated with climate change. First and foremost, I want to thank View Boston for hosting us here at this unique venue, really providing an inspiring view of the waterfront, but also a clear view of the challenges and risks that Boston faces. So not only can you see the shoreline behind us and the projects that we're going to talk about today to better protect and reinforce that shoreline, but it reinforces this location that 1/6 of Boston is built on filled tidelands. And so when we talk about shoreline protection against storms, it is not just about protecting those on the shoreline, it's about protecting 1/6 of the landmass of Boston. And those are the neighborhoods that we live and work in, those are the infrastructure, that's where our schools are at. And so we chose here, not just because it's a brisk January morning, but this is the Back Bay. 400 years ago, this would have been tidal flats. We named our neighborhoods in Boston oftentimes after former water bodies. Back Bay, South Bay, Bay Village, the Fens, all former water bodies and tidal flats. And that presents a challenge and an opportunity when we talk about coastal resilience in Boston. We mean protecting our neighborhoods and a significant amount of our landmass where people live, where they work, where they play, where they go to school. So thank you to View Boston and BXP for hosting us here where we can see the impact of the work that we're going to announce here today. So Boston is clearly a coastal city on the front lines of climate change, facing rising sea levels, more intense storms, and increasing flooding events. Proactive coastal resilience planning and implementation is a necessity, and it's critical to protecting Boston's residents, Boston's infrastructure, and our future prosperity. And not just for the here and now, but we're going to look out over the next 100 years and make sure we're prepared for the end of this century as we approach our 400th anniversary in 2030. So I'm excited to announce, and there'll be a few speakers after me, just some phenomenal partnerships that have resulted in grants to move forward on some really significant coastal projects. In particular, the FEMA grants we're announcing today on the coast include, at East Boston, the Lewis Street and Carlton Wharf project, almost $2 million from FEMA for design and permitting, matched by city funds with a potential $25 million in combined future funding to close off a critical flood path for East Boston, Maverick, and Maverick Square and the surrounding residential and coastal areas, including the Blue Line. There's a complimentary announcement of a BRIC grant that I will reserve judgment for the MBTA to announce that we're in parcel with. But again, we're all operating on the land and assets that we control in a coordinated fashion to protect the people, residents, and businesses of Boston. The second major announcement we're excited to make is around Moakley Park and flood resilience, which you can see to my left. $1.17 million from FEMA to advance the design and permitting of flood infrastructure to protect affordable housing, the neighborhood areas, Moakley Boulevard, critical areas around Dorchester Bay. Future investments could total upwards of $34 million in combined federal and city funding. So these are designing to get the right solutions so that we can then deliver the right capital projects and provide significant infrastructure and protection of Boston going forward. This only happens because of collaboration, and I would like to acknowledge we have staff in the audience from Councilor Chichi Coletta-Zapata's office and Senator Ed Markey's office. Both have been critical leaders in helping make sure that we are prepared, that we're having our voice both in City Hall and down in Washington to be able to align on these critical issues for Boston. And this funding really exemplifies the power of partnership between federal, state, and local governments. And that is the only way that we can do this in Boston, because the reality is federal, state, and local governments all own portions of our shoreline. So we have to be coordinated in this effort to protect it. So I'm very grateful for FEMA's leadership, the support of the Healy-Driscoll administration, the collaboration with local agencies, including the MBTA. I want to give particular shout outs to the City of Boston's Office of Climate Resilience and Chris Osgood and his staff, and OEM, our Office of Emergency Management, and Adrian Jordan, Chief Adrian Jordan and his staff. This collaboration is making sure that Boston is prepared for the next storm that may come this winter, while we're also getting prepared for the storms and pathways of 2030 and beyond, so that Boston is resilient, decarbonized, and just for many future generations to come. So with that said, I'd like to invite up some of those partners to speak. First off, Jarrett Devine, who is the Deputy Regional Administrator for FEMA Region 1. Jarrett.
Thank you very much, Chief Swett, and thank you for allowing us the opportunity to celebrate with you on these great accomplishments. FEMA's mitigation programs are meant to reduce the risk to communities, to move us from reactive disaster spending to proactive investment in communities to increase their resilience. And these 3 awards that we're going to be announced today are a part of that commitment. But they're only made possible through the commitment and the partnership with our state and local partners. And this commitment, this partnership, has become incredibly strong over the past year. We have been able to reach places that we haven't been able to reach in the past. We are growing our ability to look at risk in new and redefined ways, to be able to reshape our ideas for how we can build resilience into every aspect of what we do. Today, we're making a small step, a proactive step, but it's not the end. It is only the beginning of a partnership that will protect what we see behind us from future flooding events and will protect this great city. So I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to be here. I want to thank the state, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, specifically MEMA. I want to thank the City of Boston, and I want to thank the Governor's Office for all the support that we've had and the collective relationships that we've built that have made this investment in the City of Boston's future possible. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Jared, and thank you for your partnership. I just want to welcome Councilor Coletta Zapata. Thank you for joining us. You just missed me and I was your staff. But thank you for those words, Jared. It is that partnership, and as you mentioned, we couldn't be doing this without the active engagement of the state and MEMA. So first up, Quentin Palfrey, the Director of Federal Funds and Infrastructure for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thanks so much. What a view. This place is amazing. I love it up here. Thank you so much. This is a very special announcement for us for 3 reasons. One of them is that leveraging federal funds to advance whole of government priorities has been one of the cornerstones of what Governor Healy has tried to accomplish since she came into office about 2 years ago. When she came into office, she said, the BIL, the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS and Science Act are these once-in-a-generation opportunities. And we need to make sure that we seize them, that we leverage these resources, and that we move forward our priorities and make progress on the things we really care about. Last night, she gave the State of the Commonwealth address. She announced that working with the Biden-Harris administration, since she was inaugurated last year, we've brought in $9 billion to advance these whole of government priorities. So it's a really important set of resources that are being brought to bear on these important challenges. The second reason why this is really special and important to us is because of the challenges that Brian was just talking about. When Governor Healy came into office, she put in place a first of its kind climate chief at the cabinet level and called on the administration to take climate and decarbonization, resiliency, clean energy into account in everything that we do. We know we're seeing these disasters in Southern California. We've seen unprecedented heat and cold events and flooding. And we know that we need to invest in the infrastructure to get ahead of that. And working with the Biden-Harris administration, working with the city, working across the government, these investments are part of that challenge. But the third reason why this is so special is because of the collaboration that went into it. Biden-Harris administration, Administrator Ehrlich, Jared have been real leaders on investing in resiliency. And we've had this phenomenal relationship with the Biden-Harris administration. But the city of Boston has been a true leader. Chris Osgood and Brian and the team have really dug in to try to invest in these. We've worked across the state government. You see DCR here, you see MBTA here, you see MEMA here. And this has required the energy and involvement of all of these partners. And with the challenges that are ahead of us, we need to continue that Team Massachusetts approach. So I'm really thrilled to be here. Want to call out some of our staff on the Federal Funds and Infrastructure team. Mary Strain is here, Michaela Leonardo Paredes here, and Amy Ination is here, and she's been focused on this federal funds to advance our resiliency agenda across the government. And I'm thrilled to have our partners in Senator Markey's office, Senator Warren, the entire congressional delegation have just been phenomenal leaders in this Team Massachusetts approach to taking on these challenges. So I'm really thrilled to be here today. I don't know if you want me to call up Simon or whether you'll do that, but MEMA's been such a terrific leader on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Quentin, and thank you for your partnership. We're not able to pursue these state and federal grants, but for my mayor, our mayor's leadership on setting aside capital funds to prioritize coastal resilience infrastructure. So I do want to mention that the mayor in her last capital budget set aside $75 million to match state and federal and pursue grants to allow these projects like this to proceed. That is unprecedented amongst cities around the country. So it is through that partnership of saying this matters, we need to invest the capital dollars in our future, and time is of the essence, right, as we're talking about. As was mentioned, one of those critical partnerships we have is between our mayor and the governor, but also between our emergency response agencies, between Adrian Jordan and our Office of Emergency Management and Planning, and Simon Van Leeuwen at MEMA. This is a collaborative effort, so I'd love to invite Simon up to give some words.
Thank you, Chief Swett. I am the Assistant Director for Recovery and Mitigation at MEMA. MEMA is the, and honored to speak before you today, and honored to promote this vital work to protect our communities across the Commonwealth from the impacts of flood and natural hazards. MEMA is the state administrator of FEMA hazard mitigation programs. We play a central role in maximizing opportunity for these federal mitigation funds, and we work directly, as mentioned, with the communities and the state to really develop these complex coastal programs that, as Chief Swett mentioned, involve a number and require a number of partners. Through working with community and state agencies, we've been successful in putting forth a number of applications to these nationally competitive programs. In 2024 alone, MEMA managed over $300 million in federal hazard mitigation projects, and that's a single year record for our agency. These programs aren't just numbers on the page. They're about saving lives, protecting homes, businesses, and building resilient future. The Healy-Driscoll administration has been a leader in prioritizing climate adaptation through the Resilient Mass Plan. It is a first-in-the-nation coordinated hazard mitigation and climate adaptation plan that's managed by MEMA and the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And it is setting a national standard for proactive planning. These projects represent coastal flood protection, which is a particular focus of this administration, and the current priorities and challenges of climate change. Additional programs part of the Resilient Mass are our Resilient Coast, the Resilient Mass Metrics, and those are all part of the Resilient Mass Initiative. The BRIC program, Building Resilient Infrastructure and Community, has the federal program that has been the vehicle to provide these much-needed funds for coastal projects, and it's been transformational for Massachusetts and Massachusetts coasts. Last year, Massachusetts ranked second in the nation in BRIC applications and submittals, and that's an achievement that highlights the dedication of the cities of this Commonwealth, the agencies of the Commonwealth, and our partners, specifically at FEMA Region 1. Boston in particular has been an exceptional partner in working with MEMA and FEMA Region 1 to develop projects like the East Boston and Moakley Park. These efforts not only protect critical areas, but also create a roadmap for other communities in the Commonwealth to pursue these grant applications that can be complex to navigate. There's still work to do. The current BRIC cycle is active, and it presents new opportunities. We are working with Massachusetts communities right now to apply, and MEMA is committed to guiding communities through that process. The value of investment is clear. For every dollar invested in mitigation, we see $6 in return and reduction of impact in recovery post-natural hazard event. If anyone is interested in applying for BRIC or other hazard mitigation grants, please visit MEMA's website. I'm grateful for our partners at the city and FEMA Region 1. Together, we're building a safer, stronger, and more resilient Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. One of those critical pieces of infrastructure that we all know we rely on in the city of Boston is the T. And we know that, we like to talk about how it was one of the oldest systems in the country. It was also built at a time where, sea levels were at a very different elevation, and it was built very close to the shoreline. So protecting that T infrastructure, while not a direct responsibility of Mayor Wu and the administration, is critical to the city of Boston. We're so excited to have a great partnership with the MBTA on protecting that infrastructure. It's my pleasure to announce Lindsay Heffernan with a grant announcement of her own, the Chief of Policy and Strategic Planning.
A special thank you to you, Brian, and the City of Boston for your leadership and for your dedication in advancing climate resilience across the region. And certainly to Mayor Wu, I think today is a demonstration of the partnership that we have, but also the expertise and the vision to really see how are we going to move these things forward for the residents and the greater region. Certainly a huge thanks as well to our partners at FEMA for your commitment and dedication to see this work through, to Quentin Palfrey and the Healy-Driscoll administration, which continues to support the T and the entire region, and of course MEMA for recognizing the critical role that you play in making sure that we are all coordinated, because there are so many parts of government to coordinate here. For the MBTA, certainly we appreciate the support of our congressional leadership. Recognize that that Senators Warren and Markey have long been champions for these initiatives as well, and that frankly our board of directors is asking for us and demanding that we move this work forward. And so we have strong partners and allies across the board. At the MBTA, our mission is really clear. It's to provide safe, reliable, equitable, frequent, and sustainable service that supports the livelihoods and ambitions of the people that we serve. And today's announcement reflects the progress that we're making together towards a climate-ready vision. FEMA's investment will allow us to repair, modernize, and strengthen our infrastructure, ensuring that we continue to serve as a lifeline for communities in the region. This investment builds upon the Healy-Driscoll administration's commitment to advancing resilience through initiatives like Resilient Mass, which can address today's changes while we prepare for the future. We owe a debt of gratitude to FEMA in its generous $10 million award for the Blue Line Airport Tunnel flood doors and resilience improvements. It marks a real step forward in addressing the effects of climate change. I think from here you can see the airport. You cannot see the tunnel, however, under the harbor. But I want to tell you a little bit about that tunnel. It is one of the, it's a critical point of failure for us in rising sea levels, and protecting our riders from storm surge. And that total project is a $20.6 million project. So FEMA is contributing half of the funds to get this important project done. We know that we're the backbone of moving people throughout this region, and in particular, the Blue Line alone supported 45,000 riders daily during 2024, ensuring that they can reach work, school, and other destinations safely and efficiently. This ridership demonstrates also our community's trust they put in us and underscores the necessity of resilient investments to safeguard their journeys. This past year, we have been seeing some great results. We've achieved some tremendous milestones, and these dollars are going to help us continue to pay that forward. Some of those important investments that you've seen, our track improvement plan removed over 220 speed restrictions, saving riders 2.4 million minutes every weekday, and delivering nearly $1 million daily in economic benefits back to our community. Thank you. We are also making historic investments in accessibility improvements with over 30 station upgrades underway, ensuring that the system does serve all of our riders. Climate disasters aren't just a future risk. And the momentum that we have here are really presenting and responding to some clear and present dangers. In 2018, Winter Storm Grayson caused $3.5 million in flood damage at Aquarium Station. And our MIT research conducted with our team notes that by 2030, coastal flooding could cost the MBTA $63 million annually in potential losses, and that's just on the subway system. I'm going to tell you all of our maintenance facilities, we haven't even done that analysis yet, many of which are also in low-lying areas. Investing in sustainability and resilience through flood-proofing properties like the airport tunnel, which is identified as our most critical vulnerability in terms of flood risk, will reduce capital loss and safeguard critical infrastructure and minimize delays for our riders and ensure the long-term sustainability of our transit system. As we heard last night and earlier this week, these efforts are coupled with the governor's commitment to doubling the MBTA's operating budget and investing $1.4 billion in system-wide improvements to ensure a sustainable and reliable transit system for our riders. The investments to date are improving the lives and the ways in which our riders move throughout the city, but it also means that they can do more with their time with their families, more time in school, more time at their jobs, however they want to spend their time, and we want to invest in that stronger economy. So for now, we are moving forward with that momentum and urgency into 2025, focusing on sustaining our maintenance practices, continuing to improve safety, modernizing our fleet, and expanding accessibility. I want to thank all of our riders for their incredible patience. Last year has been hard. But I also want to thank my colleagues at the T. I want to particularly call out Kat Eschel, who joined our team in a new office for climate policy and planning within the last year, and is really bringing together all of the different parts of both the MBTA and our government partners across the region to make sure that we are doing what we need to, with the oldest transit system in North America, to respond to these issues. So thank you so very much for inviting us here today, and thank you again to FEMA for the award.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. With two of the three projects directly impacting and protecting East Boston, and with City Councilor Gigi Coletta-Zapata not only representing that district, but also overseeing the committee that oversees our work in climate resilience, it is my pleasure to introduce Councilor Coletta-Zapata.
Wow, just good news all around today. Wow. As a daily Blue Line rider, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm so happy to be here today to celebrate these critical funds. So happy to be here with my colleagues in federal, state, and city government. I just want to thank Mayor Wu and Chief Swett for your leadership on a lot of these issues. It's been wonderful working with you and seeing the progress, of course, again, with our state and federal colleagues. Today we come together at a critical juncture. Right? Recently, we've seen Hurricane Helene and Milton devastate communities in the South, leaving towns washed away and lives forever changed. This tragedy reminds us that we must confront the climate change crisis with urgency. Here in Boston, and especially in my district, and I represent East Boston, Charlestown, and the North End, as well as a little bit of the Wharf district. And yes, we can see the airport here, but it's also East Boston and everything I just mentioned, a partial view. But obviously in Boston, we're witnessing the effects of climate change on a daily basis. We're seeing stronger storms, rising seas, and flooding that no longer waits for a storm. These impacts threaten our neighborhoods, our infrastructure, and the very fabric of our city. For my district, the reality is especially stark. We are often hit hardest and hit first and worst. But today, I'm proud to stand here today to celebrate these vital funds as a step forward. Thanks to this $3.16 million of federal funding from FEMA, Boston is moving from plans to action. Again, as a Daily Blue Rider, thank you again for those funds. I'm looking forward to seeing the investments actually take place with construction. These funds are transformative, and they're designed to protect our waterfront neighborhoods, again, my district, to protect the critical infrastructure and the affordable housing and folks that live within them. In partnership with Mayor Wu, and again, Chief Swett, Boston has embraced bold strategies to safeguard all 47 miles of our coastline. From creating the Office of Climate Resilience, and I see Chris Osgood here is directing that office, to leveraging innovative zoning practices. We are committed to building a city that can withstand and thrive in the face of climate change. This funding is more than an investment. It is a lifeline for thousands of my constituents and thousands of residents, many of whom are low income and communities of color. Together with federal, state, and community partners, we will ensure Boston's waterfront becomes a beacon of resilience and equity. Our work, of course, is far from over, but today is proof that collaboration and persistence yields results, and together we can build a safer, stronger, and more sustainable Boston for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor, for your remarks and ongoing leadership. As you've seen, these projects really represent Boston's proactive approach to climate resilience, combining technical innovation, collaboration, and equity. Mayor Wu has been laser focused on making sure that Boston is a home for everyone, and that's not just today's generations, but all future generations living in Boston. So we are making sure we are prepared for the storms of tomorrow, and are prepared for the storms of today, and protected against the storms of tomorrow. And so hopefully this is more to come. We have a lot of work with our partners at the state and federal government. Hopefully you'll join us for future good announcements on turning planning to action in this decade of action on climate resilience in Boston. Thank you for joining us and have a great day.